So can a machine create art? I don't just mean copy it, but, create something totally new, something that makes you feel something. It's a huge question, and it's at the center of this massive debate happening right now, putting artists and algorithms head to head and making us rethink what creativity even is. Okay, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First up, we'll look at what these so-called creative machines are actually doing out in the real world. Then, we're going to get a little skeptical and dig into a pretty wild claim about AI music. After that, things get a bit philosophical. We'll ask what creativity really is before we peek into a future where humans and AI might just be creative partners. Now this is the kind of headline that makes you do a double take. A recent study is basically saying that AI-generated music can get a bigger emotional reaction out of us than music made by a human. Seriously? A machine that moves us more than a maestro? That is a huge claim, and you better believe we're going to get to the bottom of it. But before we get into that musical bombshell, let's just zoom out and see how AI is already shaking things up in all sorts of creative and technical fields. Because this isn't science fiction anymore. For a lot of people, the creative machine is already part of the team. Think about the most boring, repetitive parts of your job. Well, for a whole bunch of professionals, like technical writers, for example, AI is becoming the go-to assistant for exactly that stuff. It's really gone from being a cool gimmick to a tool people use every single day to cut down on the frustrating work and, free up time to think about bigger things. So what does that actually look like? Well, imagine a waiter who starts by dumping a mountain of angry user feedback into an AI. That's step one, analyze. The AI then sorts through all of it, finds the common themes, and points out what's missing. From there, it can automate the really boring stuff like generating code, and even jump in and help fix super complex software bugs. Every step is about taking the grunt work off the human's plate. But this is way more than just a productivity hack. I mean, look at these columns. No person sat down and drew all those crazy details. Instead, an artist, Michael Hansmeyer, he designed an algorithm. He gave the computer a simple set of rules and then just let it run. And this is what it came up with. It's a peek into a totally new kind of design, born from a partnership between a human idea and a machine's ability to execute it on a massive scale. Okay, so we know AI can be a powerful assistant and even generate brand new aesthetics. But can it make us feel? It's time to circle back to that wild claim about AI music and really pull it apart. Right, so let's be super clear about what the study actually found. People's bodies, their physical reactions, were stronger when they heard the AI music. We're talking about real, measurable things, like their pupils getting wider, which is a sign that our brains are either emotionally engaged or just working really hard. So on the surface, it looks like a total win for the AI. But then you dig into how they actually ran the test, which some very smart people over on Reddit did, and you spot a huge problem. The AI got to create a brand new custom soundtrack for every single video clip, a perfect, bespoke fit. The human music? It was just pulled from some random film score library. It wasn't written for the scene at all. I mean, that's not a fair fight. It's like comparing a custom-tailored suit to something you just grab off the rack. Of course one fits better. And this kind of pushback, this questioning, it's not just happening in comment sections. The stakes are getting way, way higher. This whole debate is moving from forums to courtrooms, and it's sparking a massive legal and ethical firestorm. And at the center of that firestorm is this number, 5 billion. That's how many images a group of artists allege were used to train major AI models, scraped from all over the internet. Their lawsuit basically says this was all done without their permission, without any payment, and a lot of the time without the artists even knowing their life's work was being fed into a machine. All this conflict really forces us to take a step back and ask an even bigger, more fundamental question. When we see a piece of AI art, what are we really looking at? And for that matter, what do we even mean when we call something creative? It's funny, because using code to create art is nothing new. For decades, you've had these generative artists who write a few simple rules, set the algorithm loose, and then watch as these incredibly complex works, like the ones you see here, just emerge. It's this amazing space where human intention meets machine process. And for artists like Anders Hoff, the real creativity isn't about making the final picture. The art, the human part, is designing the system itself. It's about crafting the simple rules that can then blossom into something intricate and unexpected. And that really gets to the core of the difference, doesn't it? AI creativity, as you see here, comes from recombining patterns from all the data it was trained on. Human creativity, well, that comes from recombining our lived experiences, everything we've ever seen, heard, touched, and felt. So the million-dollar question is an AI remixing data the same thing as a human remixing a lifetime of experiences? Or is that a line that just can't be crossed?
You know, maybe the real answer isn't buried in the AI's code, but in our own. What if our reaction to AI creativity says more about us than it does about the technology? Our brains are literally hardwired to find meaning and intention, sometimes even when it isn't there.
There is actually a word for this: apophenia. It's that thing we all do when we see a face in the clouds or a dog in a piece of toast. It's our brain's powerful and usually helpful instinct to see patterns and connect the dots, to make a story out of chaos. We're meaning-seeking machines. And when we apply that pattern-seeking brain to computers, it gets a special name: the ELIZA effect. It's named after a super simple chatbot from all the way back in the 1960s. And this program was so good at just mimicking conversation that people became convinced they were talking to a real psychotherapist. And here's the trick. Look at this conversation. Eliza isn't understanding anything. It's just programmed to spot a keyword like depression and then turn the user's own sentence back into a question. That's literally all it's doing. But that simple trick was enough. People felt heard. It just goes to show how ready we are to project real intelligence and feeling onto a machine. So, where does all this leave us? If AI isn't creative in the same way we are, and if our perception of it is kind of biased by our own psychology, then what's its real place in the creative world? Well, the conversation is really starting to shift. Instead of asking if an AI can be the artist, more and more people are seeing it as the ultimate creator partner. You know, a musician with writer's block could use it to generate a dozen melody ideas, or a novelist could use it to brainstorm different plot twists. It's not about replacement, it's about augmentation. And you can see this happening right now in fields like engineering. So on the left, you see the human input. An engineer doesn't draw the final part. They just give the AI the goals, the size, the materials, how strong it needs to be. Then the AI goes to work, exploring thousands of possible designs, and comes up with something like what you see on the right, a solution that's often lighter, stronger, and more efficient than any human would have thought of on their own. But look, this rosy picture of a co-creative future, it's not a done deal, not by a long shot. To get there, we have to navigate a total minefield of really tough issues. Who owns the copyright to AI art? What about the biases hidden in the training data? And what about the very real economic threat to human artists whose jobs are on the line? In the end, this technology is like a mirror. Yeah, it reflects the incredible amount of data we've put online, but it also reflects our own minds, our biases, our creativity, and our deep need to find meaning in patterns. And that leaves us with the most important question of all, one that isn't about technology, but about us. What kind of future are we going to build with these tools? Will it be a collaboration or a conflict? And who gets to write the rules?